Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? What the fuck is happening? Oh, it puts me in here alone? Oh. Okay, well, I guess. Hey, Wario, are you there? Wario? Wario, can you hear me? There he is. The Wario friend request. Yeah, I don't know what happened. My fucking stream shitted out. I think my whole computer just took a dump. Alright, I accepted your friend invite. Let's go ahead and send me a game invite. Let's get this 1v1 underway. Oh shit. My name is Fly Locale. There. Is that it? That's weird because we just added each other, didn't we? Online. Offline. Are you showing offline? Ads. Oh, dang. RIP, homie. And I'm on a fucking small streamer affiliate. I gotta Wardio, if you can hear me, bro, give me a few minutes. My girlfriend's coming home and she's been having a rough day and she wants some food. So I am going to assist her in finding food, and then I'll be back and we can run that. Okay, we can run that. I'm gonna put on some TV here. While I'm away.
Now, had you known John Gotti before when you were with the Columbos?
No.
Okay. Did you meet him soon after when you joined the Gambinos?
No. He was in jail. I didn't grow up with, everybody thinks I grew up with him and he was my asshole buddy. That never happened.
Right.
the first thing I heard about John Gotti, he was in prison. McBratney murder. Him and Angelo Ruggiero were in prison.
Right.
He was in prison. And in prison, some guy I knew had trouble with the black guys. Something about buying or selling drugs and money. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the black guys were going to hurt him. He was wrong. And nobody really took his back. Somebody went over to John Gotti and said, listen, this kid here, he did the wrong thing. So nobody's taking his back. But he's a friend of Sammy's, I think. Sammy the Bull.
Wow. Oh, wow.
He went to the head of the black guys in the prison
Yeah.
and said, the guy he's with is a friend of mine.
Right.
This guy did the wrong thing. I give you my word. I will give you the money back. I'll give him a crack in his face. But don't do what you have planned.
Right. Wow.
And they did that.
Wow.
They gave him a pass.
So when he came home, did you guys start working together pretty quick?
No, I got made in 1976. I became an acting captain. 1 year later, Tato made me acting captain. John came out of prison in 77. That's the first time I met him. He wasn't made yet. He came into Frankie DeChico, who was a very powerful captain in our family, a very good friend of mine. I always went to his clubs to promote him and his stuff. And he came into the Frankie's club, and I was there.
Right.
Frankie's father, Boozy, was a May guy, and Boozy told me, you ever hear of this kid, John Gotti? He was walking in with 3 or 4 guys with his little entourage. He always had that.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. I said, matter of fact, he did me a favor with somebody in prison, from what I heard. He says he's going to become one of us, Sammy, one day. By that time, he just got over to us, and he knew Boozy. And he said, this is Sammy the Bull. Hey, Sammy. I shook his hand. I bought him a drink. I thanked him for what he did in prison. And that's where we met. That's where our friendship started. And it grew.
Right.
But I never knew him, not one day before that.
Right. So the 80s now we're coming into the 80s. He's growing in power. You're still captain at this time?
I'm an acting captain.
You're an acting captain. This is when the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club is really popping off. So much activities going on. Paul Castellano is the boss. Is there what year did you start to feel a rift between yourself and Gotti and the boss, Paul? When did you feel that tension starting to happen that eventually led up to his murder?
So I was very close to Paul Castellano. I thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. And when I met him, I liked him. There's a lot of things I did with him. But he did a lot of things that are wrong. He made a lot of blunders, a lot of mistakes.
Like what, for example?
Well, I'll give you one. There's he's got a big table in his house. He's at the head of the table. There's a whole bunch of guys. John Gotti, me, Roy DeMeo.
Right.
All heavyweight names.
Right.
John Gotti was there too. Frankie DeChico, a ton of us.
Yeah.
And in this meeting, he's talking about stuff and hypothetical stuff. And he said, do you know who the real tough guys are? And these are all tough guys. These are all killers.
Yeah.
He said, the police. They go on to a house, a domestic violence. They don't know what they're walking into, and they go in. Now, that may be true, in a way. But you don't have guys who you're giving orders to go kill and tell them the true tough guy is a cop.
No.
They're our enemy.
Yeah.
They're a tough guy, and what are all of these guys? Nothing.
Right.
So it was a horrible mistake.
Why would he say that? That's so weird.
I don't know. Because he's hypothetically a genius, this guy, and he talked, and and there is some truth to it.
Right.
But on the way out, there was a whole pack of guys, and he was in the back, real close to us, walking us out. And I know he heard it. We all knew he heard it. Roy DeMeo became a serial killer.
Right.
Real tough, very dangerous guy.
Right.
He said pretty loud enough for all of us to hear it. I'm sure Paul did too. Next time he wants to kill somebody, he should go call a cop. Now, it's funny now.
Yeah.
The tension of the guys in the room and the boss hearing it wasn't so funny. But in a way, when we left, there's a lot of those guys said, who didn't like Roy too much, but they said Roy was right, bro.
Wow.
This guy.
Wow.
They're the tough guys. You want to tell us? That's the same thing as going into a police academy and say, all you guys are snakes and pieces of
Yeah.
the real men are gangsters.
Right.
Would they want to hear that?
No, of course.
It's just so wrong.
Right.
And he's made a few things that were wrong.
Right.
Now, this may not sound like a big deal to a lot of people, but it is made.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, he was his maid?
yeah, Paul
Okay.
Castellano.
Right, right.
And there's a brotherhood. I told you how we're supposed to feel.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, when I would go to Polk's house with my son, he was a little guy, and she would, like grandma, take care. Hey, come here, Gerard, and give him cookies and milk and this and that. She's like my grandmother.
Right.
Or my mother-in-law. He's the boss of the family.
Right.
Now, we all cheat. We all f around.
Right.
But for real, bro,
Yeah.
in your own house with this ugly bitch.
Right. And it's weird. It's weird.
And she's now telling the wife on occasion, people heard it, make a coffee. Make it yourself, I'm busy. And you allow her, she's your mate. Now, I'll give you another quick story just to give you an example of this. Well, let me stay with her for a second.
Yeah.
Because one day, I'm in there with Frankie the Chico, and the maid is there and all this. And he's talking to me and Frankie the Chico, and he says, her name was Gloria, the maid. Gloria, the FBI grabbed her and wanted to talk to her. She don't really know nothing, but,
Right.
And she said, oh, that FBI agent, he's so good looking with that accent.
Yeah.
Me, I said, Paul, do you want me to take care of this? The f***ing veins in his neck is stuck out. And Frankie the Chico gave me a kick under the table really hard. Not a joke, real hard.
Yeah.
I knew I said or did something f***ed up.
Right.
And he said, what the f*** did you just say? I said, Paul, I think I'm losing my mind. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
But I said, if you need me to take care of her,
Right.
I will. I thought I was saying and doing the right thing.
Right.
So we left and we knew where the cameras were, where he could see outside.
Right.
So when I get to a spot, it was a blind spot, me and Frankie, and he grabs me, jumps to his knees, he was bigger than me, he grabs me, hugs me. You crazy He loves this broad.
Right.
He'll kill me and you for her.
Wow.
He had a big garage, fit 6-8 cars.
Yeah.
He said, see that last Cadillac on the end? That's glorious. Whoa. So
Wow.
now I'm going to go into the other last story.
Okay.
I'll give you another example of that, why that's important, the maid, the whole thing. Tato, my captain, was in a restaurant in our neighborhood that he always goes to with his gumad. His gumad is his girlfriend.
Right.
And he's with her. The door opens up and Carlo Gambino walks in with 4 or 5 guys. They go sit at a table. Back then, you didn't say, hey, how you doing? Or give him a bottle of wine or do nothing. All you did was look at him, stare eye to eye, and nod your head. That's it. That's hello.
Yeah.
No, the other people know anything.
Right.
So one guy gets up. Tato's telling me the story. One guy gets up from the table, and he walks over to Tato's table. Hey, Tato, how you doing, buddy? What's your girlfriend's name? Rosie, right? Yeah, that's mine. I'll talk with Rosie. Go sit on that empty chair over there. Whoa. So he's sent over right next to Carlo Gambino. It's an empty chair. So Tato walks over and sits there. Hey, Carl, how are you? Good. He says, you come to this restaurant a lot. Yeah. You come here with your wife. Yeah. That's your girlfriend? What's her name, Rosie? Yeah. She's a beautiful girl. Really a beautiful girl. He said, what do you think these people who run the place, the waiters, the waitresses, the cook, and everybody, what do you think they say when they see Rosie, they see your wife? He said, oh, no, they would never say nothing. No, I know they won't say nothing. They're afraid of you. Of course they won't. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you're gone, amongst themselves. What do you think they say? Oh, Rosie's so much better looking than his wife, or vice versa. Tato, do you love your wife? Yes, of course I do. Do you love me? Of course, Carl, I love you. I hope you don't love me like you love your wife. Now go sit with Rosie. Whoa. In other words, what he's saying is that why would you rub it right in your wife's face? Right. You have no respect for your wife. Right. You have no respect for nobody.
Right.
You could always go to a restaurant somewhere else and cheat. Nobody would give it.
Right.
And that's the same thing with Paul, with the maid in the house. He had enough money to hire, get a beautiful, beautiful woman and have a hotel somewhere, or buy her a house, or do whatever the you want to do.
So basically, this is causing the respect for him to be eroded.
Yes.
And the higher ups, even Tato, your captain, to be eroded. Now, at this time, the wise guys, Gotti, and people around him are getting into drugs, which they're obviously not supposed to do. And
they've been in drugs.
Right. And cocaine and heroin. And Castellano was old school. That was a death sentence, right? A lot of people broke the don't sell drugs in the mafia rule. Paul was dead against it. Now, let me ask you this. Were you yourself involved in drugs?
No.
You never got involved in drug dealing?
No. After I came out of prison, I got involved with it, in a pinch with ecstasy.
Right. But
that's not it. I never got in trouble with cocaine or crack or heroin. No.
You were making enough money with construction?
It had nothing to do with money. I don't like the people that you would have to deal with.
Right.
On a street level.
Right.
If I dealt gangster to gangster, that's one thing.
Right.
I would be on a street level deal with people who would give up their mother for a bag of whatever.
Right.
Drugs. And I didn't want nothing to do with that.
So then why did you go along with the hit with John? Why were you the one that went with him?
Because when I spoke with Frankie DeChico, we concluded that Paul broke so many rules himself.
Right.
It's time to take him out, save John and his crew, and try to make Cosa Nostra back to what it's supposed to be.
Okay. So this was not a power grab? You weren't trying to be boss?
No. A lot of people will say that about me, a power grab.
Right.
While Paul was alive, I was doing very, very well.
Right.
I owned a $1 million home in Staten Island.
Right.
I owned a couple of $100,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 farm in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I was making a ton of money.
Yeah.
I had a lot of respect. I was an acting captain
Yeah.
under Tato, who I got along great with.
Yeah.
I pulled off a major hit, the Johnny Keys hit, that nobody could get done, a Mission Impossible thing. I was true to roof. Why? What power? What power grab?
You had everything.
I had it. I had it. But I agreed that Paul's time had come.
Yeah.
That remark with the cops,
Yeah.
are the tough guys, the maid in the house.
Right.
I wouldn't care if he all of Brooklyn, as long as
Right.
it wasn't in his house,
Right.
right under his wife's nose.
Right. So you're a real old school wise guy through and through.
Basically, that's how I am. Yes.
Okay, so now we're at tell me the year. I believe it's 1985. It's Sparks Restaurant Steakhouse, Sparks Steakhouse, Midtown Manhattan, the most crowded neighborhood on earth, practically, certainly in North America, right? Today, there's cameras hitting you from 20 different angles on every single corner of that neighborhood. And this is where Paul is about to meet his end. Can you walk us through it real quick? How long did the planning take for that?
7-8 months.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
And that had you had other locations that you had considered for killing him? And you landed on Sparks as the best place?
Yeah, Sparks was a late coming thing. It was right around Christmas time, before Christmas. And he made an appointment with a bunch of guys, Frankie DeChico included, at Sparks. And that became the spot.
Right.
Oh, some people said, Joe Watts said, we could go right in his house. There's a number of guys who always had the access to go there. The maid was there. She'd open the door. She'd let us in.
Right.
And we could kill him in front of his house.
Right.
I was the first one to say, what do you do? Kill the wife? Should we kill his wife? Are we going to kill his daughter?
Yeah.
We killed the maid? And I'm not doing that. I'm out.
Right.
If that's what we're going to do, I'm out.
Right.
Frank and Chico immediately agreed.
Yeah.
That deal, no,
Yeah.
that's not us. There was a few plans, but they were real not that good.
Right.
And while we were living together, me and Frankie were living together in Joe Watts' house. He had a mansion in Staten Island.
Yeah.
He had maid's quarters. We got rid of the maid. Right. And me and Frankie DeChico and Frankie Botts slept in that maid's quarters for months.
Wow.
While we were talking with other people and doing other things and trying to plan.
Yeah.
Neil, the underboss, was sick. He had cancer. John and Angelo went to him and asked for his blessings. And he told them, no. He told John Gotti, you broke every rule under the sun. And now you want my blessings to kill him. What the did he do? You broke the rules, and I'm going to give you right to kill him. The answer is no. And none of us would kill Neil to get him out of the way or anything like that.
Right.
And he was dying of cancer.
Yeah.
2 weeks after he died of cancer, we completed the plot and we did it.
It's go time. Neil was the only thing standing between you and John.
Neil was a major thing standing in the way of it.
Now, the shooters, how many were there?
There was 4 actual shooters, 11 guys, everybody on the hit's of the shooter. There's 11 guys on the hit, but there's an actual 4 shooters.
Right.
Who are going to do the shooting.
Who were they?
No, I don't even want to get into the names. I don't want to get into
Not names, but were these guys associates?
They're all, no, they're not associates. They're made guys and stuff like that.
Oh, really? Shooters are made guys?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
From the families, I assume.
From our family. Yeah.
Okay.
And some of them are associates. They're going to be made right after that anyway.
Right.
But it came to us one day when Frankie DeChico said he reached out for an appointment that they were going to make in Sparks Steakhouse. Frankie DeChico was invited to that meeting. Jimmy Brown, Danny Marino, a few other guys. So when we were in the basement of Joe Watts' house, I said, that's it. John Gotti had said, what do you mean, what's it? That's where we're going to hit him.
Wow.
There's hundreds of thousands of people. There's cops on every corner. It's right before Christmas. People don't even go home. They wait for their families to come down, and they all go out on the street. The streets will be 10 times more crowded.
Right.
I said, good.
Yeah.
It'll add to the confusion.
Right.
It'll work. We know a few things. We know who's going to the meeting and where it's happening. You can't park. Right in the front, there's a place you can pull in with your car. They take it and go park it.
Right.
He's got to park right there. There's no other spots.
Right.
We know the place. We know the time is 5:30. The parking spot, the restaurant. We know it all.
Right. Right.
We got to do or die hit.
Yeah.
John said, you're crazy. Frankie DeChico said, Sammy's already been involved in 2 mafia wars. This is the 3rd one that he's planning. I'm in. If you're not in, me and him are out. You do it yourself.
Right.
Whenever you feel like doing it.
Wow.
He backed up and he says, I'm in. Frankie said, Sammy, what do you want me to do? You go inside. There's going to be the guys who are going to be at the meeting. They're all tough guys. They're all smart guys. As soon as they hear the shots or something, they're going to get up, open your jacket, show them the gun, tell them, sit the down. Okay. John said, what do you want me to do? I'm going to have the walkie-talkie. I'm going to do all the planning and talking to everybody. You drive for me. You're my driver.
Right.
That was the plan to go.
Right.
We met all the guys in my basement in Brooklyn, New York, my office. And we told them for the first time who exactly was going to get hit. Paul Castellano, Tommy Bilotti.
I'm sure that blew them away.
And I went into a whole conversation about it.
Right.
I said, this is a do or die hit. We all move together. If anybody moves before the pack, just keep running because we'll kill you. If there's cops, we'll shoot it out with the cops. If we live, we live. If we don't live, we're going to make history here.
Wow.
We're not going to leave anybody. If he's dead, he's dead.
Right.
If he's not dead, if he can hobble, we'll pull him out with us. Don't shoot innocent people unless they attack or try to stop us.
Right.
Then kill them too.
Right.
One of the guys said, Sammy, can I say something? I said, yeah. What? He said, this is a do or die hit. Yes. I'm not sure who'll make it, who won't make it. I hope we all make it. We'll see. But it don't matter. He says, okay, Sammy. If we don't make it, I'll meet you in hell. Perfect. Did you all hear what he said? I want everybody to feel that way. We're going to war in downtown Manhattan. It's never been done. I'll meet all of you in hell if it don't work.
Right.
But we're going to do it. We've been with this too long.
Yeah.
And the next day I met that whole team in Manhattan near a park. I forgot the name of the park, but it's around. You could find out.
And it was it Gotti's idea to dress them in long coats with Russian hats on?
No. Matter of fact, it wasn't my idea. But what I found out later, that I think it was Angelo Ruggiero's idea.
Okay.
When I heard it before it actually happened and I saw it, I said, no, I didn't plan that. But it was a great idea. Later on, when I cooperated, even the agent said, people all day, hundreds of witnesses, all day, couldn't give height, weight, nothing. All they could say about is the Russian hats, the jacket.
Wow.
They didn't even know what and people ran. There was such confusion. One off-duty cop who watched the whole thing happen, they told him, why didn't you take your gun out? He said, it was too well planned. Wow. I wasn't getting killed. I knew there had to be backup shooters and everything else.
Right.
And there was.
So you guys are all associates, and
right.
But this plot to kill you and Shorty obviously gets foiled. What happens next?
Oh, Shorty comes to me and says, Sammy, tells me the whole story about Joe Colucci and says, you got the hit. Take him out. He says, who do you want to come with you to help you? I wasn't sure if I was being bullshit. I didn't understand why he would want to kill me. And I didn't want to be bullshit. So I said, first of all, I want to take your nephew, Tommy. This whole thing started because of him.
Right.
And his...
Right. Yeah.
So he's got to be there. And I want Frankie there. Because I wanted to be able to get him alone and ask him, is there truth to this story? Or am I being bullshit? Am I being told to steam me up to get this guy out of the way? I wanted to find out.
Right.
So anyway, Frankie told me, no, Sammy. And I told him, why wouldn't you come to me if you heard that from him? He said, Sammy, I saved your life, bro. I went and did what I'm supposed to do. I went to the boss. Shorty's our boss. And he was right. He did save my life. He could have said yes. I would have never knew it would hit me.
Yeah.
So
your first hit was actually defense. It was kill or be killed.
No. No. It was an order from the mob.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Right.
And so we went out from time to time. And one night, we went to an after-hour club. Then we went to a place on 86th Street, a 24-hour place where you can eat. He went downstairs to go to the men's room, and I had Frankie and Tommy and me. I said, when we go back to the car, Tommy, you drive. I'll sit behind Tommy. Frankie, you sit behind Joey. Let him sit in the front in the passenger seat. He came back up. That's exactly what we did. Everybody was in that position. The windows were closed. The radio was on. We took off and we were going down a side street. I had a .38 pistol in my pants. Halfway down the block, I took out the gun. And I shot the first shot in the back of his head. He didn't move. Didn't wiggle. Nothing seemed to happen. I was in shock. I didn't know what the f- happened. This is blanks. I was panicking. What happened? I pulled the trigger again. Shot him again. This time he went sliding down slightly and sliding towards the window. He was in a passenger seat. Tommy, for some reason, had the radio blasting loud, like that's supposed to cover something. The noise in the car was deafening.
Yeah.
I said, open the windows. One, shut that radio, lower the thing. It was a Beatles song. Let It Be was the song. And I said, get on the highway, go towards Queens. Don't go through any lights. Don't do anything. It looks like he's sleeping, resting, and we're driving in the car.
Yeah.
Don't speed. We went down a little ways towards Queens, and We went in an area that was upper middle class, beautiful homes, lawns, outside of our neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was dark. I said, pull over here. He pulled over in front of a nice house, lawn. I told Tommy, open the door and throw him out. He kind of touched him and he reacted in a weird way, like he was super nervous. And he says, Sammy, he's dead. We didn't have electric windows. It was a roll down window. I told Frankie, open up your window. I climbed over Frankie and jumped out the side. I went to the door, opened up the door. I put one hand under his neck and the other one under his legs. He was a pretty big guy. It's the first time I had an experience with dead weight. He felt like he was 1,000 pounds. But I struggled and I got him up, pulled him out, and threw him onto the grass.
So you had no other plan to dispose of him before the hit went down?
No.
Wow.
And I got back in. As I got back into the car, my hand hit the seat. He must have been, it was bleeding. It was loaded with blood. My hand slid across the seat, and I jumped into the seat and just sat on it. I opened up the window. I said, wait. I opened up the window, and out of the window, I put the gun. He was only a couple feet away.
Yeah.
And I shot him 3 more times.
Wow.
I closed the window. I grabbed the rag. I says, go back. Don't speed. Don't go through lights. Shut the radio. And we'll stop by the ocean. On the way home, we pass the ocean. I'm going to throw the gun in the river, in the ocean. And then we'll go back and I'll clean up the car. I want everybody to take off all their clothes, everything you're wearing, shoes, socks, underwear, everything, and let's get rid of it. Everything. And we did that. I was always under the impression that when you do a murder, I saw a movie, the guy is sweating and he's scared and he's nervous and everything is happening. And then he does this murder and he's shaking and sweating like a pig. And I thought that was going to happen to me. When we got back and we cleaned up and we got rid of the gun, we went up in an apartment, 3, 4, 5 of us lived together. And I took off my clothes. I told them what to do with the clothes. And I went in the shower. I had the water coming down on my head, down my back, and waiting for this to happen. It didn't happen. I wasn't nervous. I didn't feel any of those things I thought that anybody and everybody feels.
Since that day,
Wait 1 minute.
Excuse me.
I got back in bed. And I slept like a baby. I got up the next morning to people, girls, young girls, called talking, oh my God, Joe Colucci, they found his body in Queens. This and that. I remember asking one of the young girls, do they know who did it? She said, no, it says in the paper, but they're investigating it. And they all left and went to the corner to hang out, and there's a big hustle of kids and stuff. Right. I got dried, I got dressed, I went out. It felt like I had an out-of-body experience, that I was above the crowd, looking down, looking at them and listening to them.
Wow.
And I still didn't feel anything. And then Tommy Spiro broke that little trance that I was in and said, Shorty's on his way down. He wants to pick us up. Right. Shorty got there and said, get in the car. He had the newspaper. Tommy explained everything, how it happened, leaving out the part that he was scared and nervous.
Right. Yeah.
He said, I want my nephew to explain to Carmine Persico. You don't say a word, Sammy. I got in the car. We went down to see Carmine Persico. Tommy Spiro did explain it to the T, leaving out the part about him being scared and nervous. I didn't care. Carmine Persico grabbed me, kissed me on the cheek, hugged me, said, "You did a great job. Did you get rid of the car?" I said, "I cleaned it up." Get rid of it. There's always something left. I never did a hit before, so I just thought cleaning it up was a good thing. I was broke. I didn't have another car.
Right.
But I did. When I left, I took the car that night, burnt it to a crisp, and reported it stolen. So now you could ask me whatever you want to ask me.
Wow. You were 19 years old?
No, I was like, I went into the military when I was 19. I got out at 21. This took place when I was about 23.
So did that bump you up? Obviously it gave you some new clout with the Made guys. What did that do for your ranking? Did that open up opportunities?
Well, I didn't look at it that way, but what did happen, nobody knew that I did that murder, who was on the murder, except for the guys who were on the murder. But what it did is that when we would go see Carmine Persico on Carroll Street, downtown Brooklyn, we would come back in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Joe Colombo would be hanging out, who was the boss of the family. Shorty would have a message from Carmine, so we would pull the car over. I would stay by the car, and he would walk over to Joe Colombo, shake his hand, and talk to him. Yeah. Joe Colombo would have 2-3 guys with him. And it wasn't my place to walk over to a boss.
Right.
So I just stood by the car.
Right.
But after that hit, Joe Colombo, right after that hit, yelled out to me, "Sammy, come over here." And I walked over, and he says, "You don't like me?" I said, "Joe, I think the world of you." He said, "Good. Well, from now on, don't stay by the car. You come over here, you shake my hand, you say hello.
Yeah.
You can listen, shake everybody else's hand, but never say one word in these conversations. Right. But you don't have to stand over there no more. You could come here and stand over here with Shorty and listen. And when Shorty's ready to leave, you can leave with him."
Wow.
So people on 86th Street in Brooklyn would pass by. It was a big avenue. Yeah. It was a real estate place where he hung up. Everybody knew who he was.
Right.
Seeing me, they're shaking hands with him, hello, goodbye, or standing there. And my name went through the roof for those reasons, not because I killed somebody.
That's a big deal when the boss for a young knockaround guy calls you over and says you can stand. That's like Carson waving the comedian over to the couch after his set.
Right, whatever it is, yes.
You said you didn't feel anything after that hit. Did you ever feel anything years later? Did you ever feel anything about any of the hits that you were involved in?
I felt things about a lot of the things I had feelings for. I did a lot of hits. I was on a lot of hits. The first hit, no, I didn't have no remorse, and I felt nothing. Until today, I don't. I know one thing. There's rules in the mafia. You live by those rules or you die by those rules. If you break those rules, you die. If you break rules, you bang somebody's or a boss or a captain's wife, and you know that you could die. I can give a less if you get killed.
Right.
I'll even participate in it.
Do you still like the Beatles?
I love the Beatles. The Beatles were great in that time. And but no, I don't. There's other hits that I've done. But I understand why they were done. Now, we talked about my military. This is no different. Yeah. I'm a soldier, not in the U.S. Army. I'm a soldier in Cosa Nostra. And my job is to protect Cosa Nostra at all costs.
Yeah.
When you become a made guy, and that took a while, and I was transferred over to the Gambino family, became a made guy, you take an oath where they tell you, this is above God, country, and your family. This is number one in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn to live by that code. If your son and your daughter is dying in the hospital, and you're in the hospital with them, and the boss sends for you, walk the out of that hospital and go see the boss.
Mm.
Now, it's not that you're not supposed to love God. I always cared about God. I still do. I think you'd have to almost kill me to walk. If my son was dying in the hospital and the boss wanted to see me, I think I would take a bullet rather than walking away.
Right.
But they were trying to show you how this is the first thing in your life.
Right.
Nobody's going to call you. You're a made guy. I'm a boss.
Right.
And they tell me he's in a hospital with his kid. His kid is dying. I would never tell him to get hit.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
But you have to understand that it's that important.
Mm-hmm.
If your son becomes an informant and I tell you to kill your son, you have to kill him. If you don't, we'll kill your son anyway, and we'll kill you.
Were you prepared to die for the life in defending Cosa Nostra? Either with a bullet or life in prison?
Absolutely. You know, people say, well, you're afraid. I'm afraid of a lot of things. I'm afraid of sharks. It scares that picture of Jaws. It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I go like up to my ankles, and I'm like, well, wait, what is this?
Same.
It bothers me.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any fear because here's how I didn't have fear. Not because I'm a tough guy. Not that I don't understand fear. I always thought especially when I took the oath in the life, one day I'm going to get killed or I'm going to go to prison for the rest of my life.
Right.
That eliminated fear for me.
Right.
Because I expected it.
Right.
It was just part of my life. Don't smoke because you'll get cancer. I'll die of cancer, I'll die something else, and you just keep smoking.
Right.
Right? You're not afraid of it.
So it was an acceptance.
It's an acceptance, not, I don't want to sound like I don't have any fear and I'm Mr. Tough Guy. That's bullshit. I have fears just like everybody else. I wouldn't leave my son and my daughter, and I do believe in God. And so...
How did your belief in God, and I'm sure you were raised Catholic or had some Catholic influence like I did, killing is a mortal sin, they call it.
Yeah.
If you kill, you're supposed to go to hell. It's the worst thing you could do. How did you square what you did, pushing a button so many times on people and,
I'm not pushing the button. I may be the gun. I may be what kills you. I don't push the button. But boss pushes the button.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you killed people without permission from the boss, did you not?
No, I did one hit like that, but I did it to protect him. That's a whole nother story, and we can talk about it later for a quick thing. But
so you feel like God will forgive you because you were killing people on behalf of the boss as an order.
I believe in God. I don't believe there's in hell. If you believe in God and you believe he can forgive you for what you do, and he's almighty, he's all this, he's all that, and then if you don't listen to his rules, he's going to make you burn in hell for the rest of eternity. I mean, don't that sound like to you? It does to me. And a lot of things, the Catholic religion, I'm not a religion guy. I believe in God, but I don't believe in religions because I believe that story about hell is bullshit. And I know a lot of priests who touch little. So
very
you
true.
want to, there was a time when a priest says, I want you to come in and I want you to tell me your sins. I said, fine. Tell me yours. What did you do? Do you have any altar boys working for you? Come on, let's talk.
Right.
But they don't want to talk. So I don't believe in certain religions. I don't believe in certain things that a man says of what God would do.
To me, the hell, this is what I believe, because I hear you about Catholicism, about hell. I'm worried about the final moment before I pass and feeling the overwhelming guilt about what maybe I did in my life that I knew was wrong, or that things that I should have done, and just feeling like just this deep feeling of remorse and regret while I'm still alive, but passing into the next world. Like, to me, that's hell. Like being on the deathbed.
So you're worried about that feeling.
Yeah.
Stick a gun in your mouth and pull the trigger, and you won't regret nothing. How about that? You won't have to worry about it if you're that concerned with it.
I'm too chicken for that.
Well, then you won't
Sal.
have to worry about what you feel and what you don't feel. Listen, God makes lions, he makes lambs. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to point to you or whoever. You might be a lamb. I'm a lion. Mm. He made us. So I would have questions for God. Mm. Why did you make lions? Why did you do certain things? Mm. Do I believe he put his son on a cross to be tortured, to save some scummy people he didn't even know? I don't buy none of that. So if you believe in God and that makes you a better man, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. It's good enough for me.
That's great though. So to that point, do you feel that God made you a better man? Did you ever try to act in a way that was in the image of God or what God would want, even maybe after the life?
Well, there's a lot of times I did things and put my own life at risk because of certain things. I never killed a woman. Uh-huh. I never killed a child.
Right.
I never killed an innocent person outside of Cosa Nostra.
Right.
I may have a fight. I may want to break your face open a little bit, or whatever.
Right.
But I don't want to kill you.
Okay. So you wouldn't consider yourself like a sociopath or a serial killer?
No, without a doubt, no.
All right.
No.
I couldn't even ask you that question, and you couldn't answer if you were.
You could answer it. I mean, you could ask the question. I don't mind it. I mean, because there's people who say that, there was a psychologist in prison when I was in prison asks a lot of these questions.
Right.
And I had said, anybody could kill. And she said, no, I can't kill. All right. Are you married? You have kids? She says, I asked the questions. Then the interview's over. I'm asking you a question. There's nothing wrong with the questions I'm asking you. She said, yes, I am married. I have 2 little kids, a boy and a girl. Good. Supposing somebody grabs their little girl and brutally and beats her and kills her, and he gets caught, goes to trial. He's convicted. They give him electric chair, gas chamber, whatever. Nobody's there when they're going to press that button. Mm. If nobody comes in and presses that button, they'll commute his sentence from the death penalty to life in prison, 20 years, or whatever. Mm. Would you push the button? Oh, you bet your sweet ass I would. Mm. So then you could kill.
Right.
Under the right conditions.
Right. Okay.
So everybody, I think, there's guys who go in the military. You think all these soldiers are serial killers? Mm. They're fighting for their country. They're bullshit by the government to fight for whatever bullshit reason they give. Most of the times it's not even true.
That's right.
I was supposed to kill Vietnamese people. Mm. Either they're good crooks, because I've never seen a Vietnamese person in prison, 22 years of my life.
Right.
I've never met a bad Vietnamese person.
They're really nice.
They're good. They do your nails, your toenails, your fingernails. They're polite.
You off? Kidding.
Well, I never had that.
Just kidding.
I never had that. But they're good people.
Yeah.
So what is it? It means to me that was all bull. Yeah. They weren't coming here, taking over the country. Yeah. But they train you to do that. Is there cops serial killers? Maybe 1, maybe 2. Does most of them want to come out, wake up every morning and want to kill somebody? I doubt it. Mm.
You talked about soldiers being brainwashed and lied to about going to war. We know Vietnam was bull. It was a false pretenses to even go there. Iraq, both Iraq wars, we now know, built off of lies, right, about weapons of mass destruction, all that.
We're not sure about what's going on today. We're sending funds to Israel.
Yep.
And we're sending funds to Hamas.
Yeah.
These two are fighting.
Yeah.
If you pick one side, I understand what your thinking is. But if you're feeding both sides, you don't want this fight to stop, do you?
No, and they don't.
So what the f-? It's not just Vietnam back then. It's right now happening right under our nose.
100%. 100%. So a soldier that kills, we can forget. My point is, we can forgive a soldier who kills for a military that's given orders by people in power that are lying. Do you feel like you were lied to a little bit? You know, you were brought in by this organization, Cosa Nostra, when you were just a kid. You would come back from the military and you were recruited, and they made you a promise: we'll never lie to you, we'll never turn on you, we'll never cheat you, we'll never betray you. Looking back, do you think you killed for the right reasons, for an organization that was not morally or okay, morally just, but principally a just organization? Or do you feel like you were betrayed a little bit by the...
I was betrayed when I had a case with John Gotti. I loved the guy. He betrayed me, and I flipped and walked away and joined the government. But before that, there's a lot of people I knew in the mafia. Most of them are dead. I love them. I love their families. They weren't bad people.
Right.
They killed. I don't consider myself a bad person because I killed.
Yeah.
I protected as a soldier. When I was in the military, and I was in the military, if I would have went to Vietnam, I would have killed people. Sure as God made apples.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be happy about it right now.
Right.
But that's that's what I was supposed to do.
Right.
So, or a cop. Some guy comes out with a knife and he's running at him or pulls a gun. What do you want this cop to do? Not shoot him? He's going to shoot him.
Right.
I'm not mad at him. Maybe somebody else is mad at him, but I'm not.
Gotcha.
So I look at the mafia as, you take this oath, you're part of this secret society and a brotherhood, and you're there to protect one another.
You can do anything you need to do to succeed. You can lie, you can steal, you can cheat,
Yes.
you can kill. Anything you do to maintain control of your kingdom. However, to the outside world, you must always appear to be honest, upright,
virtuous,
and have integrity, and virtuous.
Yes. The more powerful you get, which they always say, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Right.
Machiavelli used to say, when you got them by their balls, their hearts and minds will follow.
Exactly. All right, this I want to get into you, Machiavelli.
Yes.
I don't know anybody else other than my old friends on the street that were into Machiavelli.
Yeah.
And you know, I saw your YouTube, and it was so funny. I was kind of laughing, going, "See, he really gets it. You know, Chaz really gets it." When we went to prison, it was almost required reading. You
Absolutely.
gotta read Machiavelli. My dad, he used to quote Machiavelli all the time.
Right.
And I'm writing a book. I'll tell you what happens. I write this business book a couple of years back, and did pretty well. I'm making an offer you can't refuse. You know, I didn't create the title.
Right.
But my publisher says, I want you to write another book. I said, okay, what do you want me to write? He said, I want you to write a political book. Good timing. I said, okay. I said, let me think about it. So now, obviously, I still have some old feelings about the government, you know,
Sure.
from the street. And the way I see the government, I'm not going to get political. I'm just telling you the thing in the book. I'm saying, you know, the government is acting so much like the mob. They're so Machiavellian in the way they operate.
Yes.
And I see it in so many ways.
Of course, yes.
So I said, I'm going to write a book. It's going to be called A Mafia Democracy. And it's going to be how I see the government today. I start writing the book. This was 5 years ago. Obama was president. And I said, this isn't a gimmick. I'm going to do the research. I'm going to do it right. After I get into it, I write about 5 chapters, and I tell my wife, I said, these people are going to get upset with me. I said, because this is real. not Republican, not Democratic,
Right.
just the system. And I said, what do I need this for? Everything's good in my life. I don't need no
Right.
headaches, right? I go back to my publisher. I said, I'm not writing the book. Here's the advance. I'm done, right?
Right.
Cut to just a couple of months ago. I feel a responsibility to write this book now.
Right.
Because